gets here, what does that mean for logistics and transportation and drug discovery and asset management? So basically what we did is we looked at quantum computing across various sectors and said, what's the impact going to be? And then we looked at it from the standpoint of the UN Sustainable Development.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Actionable ESG Talks series brought to you by AKFI Actionable Knowledge Foundational Institute, the world's first nonprofit industry consortium committed to bridging the gap between ESG, sustainability, and digital transformation. My name is Isabella. I am the co-host here with Manuel, another co-host for this series, and also the executive director at the Actionable Knowledgeable Foundational Institute, AKFI. And here with our special guest today, Erika. Erika, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Isabella. Manuel, nice to see you.
Pleasure.
Thanks to this talk series, we get to bring together great minds to together discuss the current state and the future state of ESG, sustainability, and digital transformation. Erika is the Chief Impact Officer at Pathstone, and she sits on the firm's Investment Oversight Committee and Market Strategy Committee. She also chairs Pathstone's Impact Committee and thematic research effort. Erika's mission is to bring the disciplines of finance, economics, and sustainability to bear in pursuit of a more regenerative and inclusive form of capitalism. Love it, Erika. I'll focus on keep an eye on your work. Let's keep this conscious movement going. And over the couple of her 25 plus years on Wall Street, she developed a deep belief in environmental, social, and governance ESG analysis as a critical input to investment decision making. And before she joining Pathstone, Erika was a founder and a CEO of Cornerstone Capital Group, a sustainable and impact investment advisory firm she founded in 2013. And previously, Erika was a managing director and head of global sector research at UBS Investment Bank. And she chaired the Global Investment Review Committee and served on the UBS Security Research Executive Committee and served on the Environmental and Human Rights Committee of the UBS Group Executive Board. Thank you so much, Erika. Bunch of insight are waiting for us, and of course, Erika has been featured aside from us on many other medias, Bloomberg. So it's such a pleasure to have you here, share your insights with our audience. To start our conversation, usually we aiming for something relatively broad. Not too long ago, you mentioned that green finance brings together interdisciplinary knowledge to affect change across the capital market with exceptional positive energy and style, and it's estimated that the healthcare industry will grow to a 62 trillion by 2028. So according to these numbers and insights, what are your thoughts on the current green financing, sustainability, ESG, and digital transformation trends in the healthcare industry in general? I know you like broad. This is a great question for you.
Right. So there's a lot in there. And what I would tell you is I think we probably should start with some definitions, all right, because it just facilitates the conversation. And just so we can get on the same page. In my view, first of all, there is no such thing as ESG investing. That's not a thing. There is such a thing as ESG analysis, all right? And you can use that for any kind of investing you want. In fact, you should use it because ESG analysis allows for a more robust understanding of risk-adjusted returns. So the material ESG factors in any investment decision are what is so important. And I would argue that a company who is not looking at environmental and social factors that play into its market, the economy, that is a company that is not well governed, period. So that G is first among equals. The definition of sustainable investing is the systematic analysis of material ESG factors. You could argue that the definition of impact investing adds intentionality from it, okay? It adds additionality, meaning, but for your investment, some outcome would not have happened. And then measurability. So the idea of understanding really what was the impact. So that's where I use impact investing. And by the way, people use the term socially responsible investing and impact investing, sustainable investing, double bottom line, triple bottom line, whatever you want to call it, it's all just investing, including how companies allocate their dollars, their CapEx. So it's all about investing, it's all about ESG analysis, and we need to be very pragmatic, and we need to help to depoliticize what's been going on in the market in terms of the backlash. So that sets the stage, I think, for definitions. Now, the most important thing to remember is whether it's healthcare or whether it's technology or whether it's energy or whether it's transportation or whether it's food and ag, digitization affects everything in very dramatic ways. So the report that we recently did on the future of healthcare, the digital impact, that looks to discuss kind of the intersectionality of digital. So whether it's about, robotics, genomics, wearables, remote monitoring, personalized or precision health and medicine, those are the things that are facilitated by digital transformation. So that's just a sample. In this report, we tried to get to those issues. How do you think about them in the investment context? What is the landscape? When we think about the landscape, what does it look like from the standpoint of health equity? What is the role of government? What is the promise of AI? What are the risks of AI? And then we also think about mental health and the challenges there. So the report we put out from Pathstone, again, the future of healthcare, digital impact, is an example of the thematic work that we do.
Very, very interesting. And of course, the thematic work, as you mentioned at the beginning, it intersects actually with investment. Everything, and I hope all our audience understands that everything runs eventually through investment, through the lenses of investment. As you mentioned, there are multiple lenses. We can look at impact, sustainable. Very good also definition of ESG is the first time I hear look at ESG as a set of parameters and measurements, as opposed to be, as you said, taking the front lines and in the newspapers, right, about ESG pro and con. Again, investments, I think, at least in my view, are all about measuring and assessing risk now and in the future. And I heard many discussions actually where sustainability, actually my work with students at Cornell, they put sustainability as a cost, in the cost as opposed to look more holistically, pull back a little bit and look at sustainability as an opportunity and eventually as a strategic opportunity, which serves the shareholders, which serves, of course, the stakeholders. So, if I may ask your thoughts on this.
Oh my God, that's absolutely right. And a lot of people do talk about sustainability ESG analysis as a risk mitigator, right? Yes, it is. But it is so much more than that. And that's exactly why we do reports like this. What is the opportunity aside from the risk, what is the opportunity in healthcare? And I mentioned all those incredible opportunities, from robotics to wearables and everything else. But when you think about the investment opportunities, I mean, Amazon has the pill pack, right? That's a business opportunity for them. You have e-health records and AI. We're talking about, who knows what it can do in terms of therapeutic generation, right? Therapeutics. So, I mean, this is about opportunities. We just have to be aware what we're doing. And if you look at Generation Asset Management, right? Generation has recently included digital health in their impact mandate. All right. So they're seeing it. And, Generation has been so strong in terms of their investment strategies. You have, I'm just going to look at some numbers that some of my guys gave me for the investment report. It was back in 1981 that Fidelity Select Healthcare Mutual came out. So the first time you started to see, focused investing in healthcare. All right. Now there are 92 mutual funds and ETFs that invest focused in healthcare. There's over 200 billion dedicated in terms of a few of the ETFs. You have funds including Evercept, which that one's relatively well known. You have, in terms of deals, you have 420 health tech deals that have come to market, over the past 2 years or so. So, I mean, the investment opportunities are tremendous. The market opportunities in healthcare for innovative companies that are embracing, the digital transformation are tremendous. We're talking about preventative medicine, diagnostic medicine, distribution. So absolutely. And by the way, I'm just obviously talking about healthcare now, but think of any other sector. All right. We have a huge opportunity from digitization and sustainability.
So I know it's a very detailed report, very well documented. I should stop here and actually mention the contribution of Dr. Derek Yap, actually Professor Derek Yap, although he doesn't like to be called that way. And he's also a contributor to our Actionable ESG. He participated in a couple of sessions on especially the tobacco industry, which is his, I would say, specialty and focus, and trying to get people off the addiction, and has a lot of research and a lot of ideas. So just a mention for Dr. Yak. And I know he contributed to the report. For our audience, and we discussed at the beginning, it's a very varied audience. What will be the takeaways? What should they look for? I understand it's investing. I understand there are technologies. Is it a good news report?
Actually, it is. And I'll give you, I mean, if we think back, on the sector, right? The healthcare sector represents 18% of the U.S. economy, right? It's a multi-trillion-dollar sector, so it's a big sector. And then also, when you're thinking about an economic cycle, right now, investors might think, okay, we're in the late stages of an economic cycle, so how do you invest? Well, there are sector bets that one might want to make, right? So you might want to make consumer bets, utility bets. Healthcare is typically in the late stages of an economic cycle. So those are just kind of market factors that come to play when you want to talk about the healthcare sector. But the point is, it is huge, all right? It is growing about, I think, 2.5 times the rate spending of other economies. Right. And unfortunately, we maybe don't have as good health outcomes as we should, given the spending levels. Right. So, those things all sound a little bit dark. But the reality is, this report is more talking about the promise of digital transformation. So I would say I consider this, the kind of thing that you got to know, read this, understand this, think about the history. Right now we're talking about ARPA-H, right? Department of Advanced Research Products for Healthcare. DARPA has existed for decades and decades, and there's a lot to be learned from that DARPA model, in terms of diffuse leadership and management and innovation, and sharing the fact that DARPA's work is on the public domain. So from the standpoint of this report, we very much think of it as an opportunity. So managers, again, I mentioned Generation, or I mentioned Green Alpha, or I mentioned, City Light Capital. These are fund managers that get it, that are moving forward, that are investing, really well in healthcare and all its intersectionality with other sectors.
And, many articles have been written on the demographics, which change. You can almost say they match the level of economic development. So developed countries, OECD countries, see major changes in demographics, starting with Japan and South Korea, sorry. And we see this kind of changes. So added to your perspective and long-term perspective, there is a reality out there all the time, and that reality feeds the demographics of the population, right? The baby boomers are going one way, the young Generation Z is coming into power, coming into the board offices, the board of directors offices, and so on. So I think what you added, it's very, very important, because all these investments are going really deep into the social, economic, and demographic reality that faces us.
And I would add that, again, here's where the difficult stuff is, right? The demographics are driving up the costs of healthcare. The aging of the world population is driving up the cost of healthcare. We are seeing health equity right now declining. So depending on, someone's wealth, depending on their race, depending on their age, we're having a very difficult time, keeping up with this. But digital transformation is one thing that can allow us to do that. Now, again, the risk side is a big issue, is data privacy, healthcare privacy. HIPAA, I don't know if it's specifically cut out, the rules, the laws for privacy on digital data. That's really an issue. We have to sort that out. We haven't sorted out the idea of women's reproductive health. What does digitization mean to that? Going into mental health, what does digitization mean in terms of creating an infrastructure for supporting that crisis of mental health? Right now, there's not really an infrastructure for mental health services. So again, this report, I believe our intention was to be realistic and pragmatic, but also optimistic in terms of what can be done.
And
how do we get the report again, Erika? I'm not sure if we mentioned this privately or...
Yeah, very easy. I'm sorry. I thought I had sent it along. I'll send it along to the two of you. Please feel free to send it as far and wide as you like. It's meant for public consumption.
Oh, great.
I'll distribute it. We'll distribute it together with the video. So,
and by the way, I should say, for your audience, I will also send the thematic report we did on quantum impact. And basically what we said is, obviously we have AI and we move towards machine learning, and ultimately quantum computing is going to change stuff a lot. And so when quantum gets here, what does that mean for logistics and transportation and drug discovery and asset management? So basically what we did is, we looked at quantum computing across various sectors, and said, what's the impact going to be? And then we looked at it from the standpoint of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So what goals are touched through quantum computing? As an example, with quantum computing, we're going to be able to, change logistics in an extraordinary way. So an airline, that flies their planes, from New York to London, and they fly that plane and, it circles around Heathrow using energy, using fuel, and inefficiently having its routing done, right? It uses more energy flying around Heathrow than it does going across the sea, right? So if we can get the logistics right in terms of the airlines, imagine how much carbon emissions are reduced, right? So when we think about the promise of technology, and I know we're early for quantum computing, but we should at least be talking about it. So I'll send you that report as well, and you can feel free to share it with everybody.
Thank you, Erika.
Sure.
And by the way, as you talk about this, I think one area which is you mentioned the discovery of medicines and the way the medicines are absorbed by the human bodies and react to the human bodies, and this whole area of protein folding or unfolding in the case, which actually shows the biochemistry. Everything is based on proteins, right? From medicines to how our body functions. So it's another area of Google. Actually, I think it's a pioneer in that area already with research and use digital transformation in biochemistry and medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a futurist, Isabella. I mentioned at the beginning, she's a book author, and she's thinking before AI, she actually published a book about the digital mind of tomorrow. And Isabella, maybe you want to say something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everything you mentioned today, Erika, I'm deeply interested because I think it looks into the future. As my personal focus, I really tap into the combination of human intelligence and machine intelligence. I want to look into how technology, its impact us as a society. As you mentioned, there's so many aspects that we're not touched on. It creates problem. At the same time, there's immense opportunities in that space if we know how to analyze and see the disconnection and find a new way to fit into this digital age, and including mental health. And I think that's one of the key effect out of this digital transformation, of course, compound with other factors because of this social effect and the next generation on the cyber addict and things like that, and also the pressure from overwhelming information overload. So yeah.
Some people, and I kind of buy this, are referring to what we're in now as the attention economy. And I think that's absolutely right. Attention, our attention is an incredibly important asset now. And given how much is pulling our attention away, where do we have to focus? And that's what we try to do. I didn't even mention this to everyone. So Pathstone, my firm, is an investment advisor and a wealth advisor. And we advise families and foundations to the tune of over $100 billion. And our job is to focus on our clients and support their values as we make the investment recommendations, and focusing on our clients' needs and aspirations. That's what lets us do the kind of thematic impact investment research that we do. So I would welcome all your colleagues and your friends to come talk to us if they are interested in values aligned and impact investing.
It can be more, it can be more true to us. Yeah. all the direction that you're focusing on the social perspective.
Yep.
Align the profitability with our well-beings and our value. I think that's really the direction for future investment.
Yes.
And I think, you draw a straight line between what we call value investing, which was finding good bargains in the stock market, see Buffett and company, and actually value impact investment. What is the value of the investor, not necessarily only the value of the company on what we invest.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very important change as we move from pure, shareholder capitalism to a more human capitalist, whatever adjective we want to put in front of it.
Well, I like, by the way, I want both value creation
of course,
and values alignment. So I completely agree. There are two different things. With regard to kind of the global economy and with regard to capitalism, I believe that stakeholder capitalism is what we need to think about. Stewardship is what we need to think about. And again, all kinds of capital, financial capital, human capital, natural capital. If we try to deploy each of these in a constructive way, and if we understand stakeholder economics over the long term, it's this beautiful, virtuous cycle of stewardship. That's what I like to think about.
And if I may add knowledge capital, we create a lot of knowledge and we doing okay, but we're not leveraging it enough in sciences, in arts, in human sciences. Well, I think we have, Isabella, I think we can continue if Erika would like to join us again, but maybe I asked most of the questions, so please, I'll give you the last question.
We talk about the investment tips and the future of this financing, the future of where the world is going, and Erika's personal preference on how to shape this future in what direction, combined with the power of capitalism support. And I'm a fan of focusing a little bit on the next generation as well. The Gen Z, they're in the core of my business development, business strategy research as well. They're becoming the main power and everywhere. And AKFI is also an advocate for supporting the next generation. We have over 20 plus volunteers from different colleges. They're the rising star, in my opinion, in spreading the idea of sustainability, impact investing, moving the world into a different direction. Thank you. And they're very active on our research project and communication strategy and everything. I believe they will be glad and honored to hear some advice from Erika, who as their virtual mentor on their future career development. So what will you tell them?
Oh my God, it's so fun and it's so important because, this next generation is living through the most massive kind of transfer of wealth from the prior generation that we've ever seen. And so the idea of becoming knowledgeable about some of the basic disciplines, mathematics, economics, right? History, learning about some of the basics and then layering onto it the idea of long-term thinking in finance and the capital markets is just critically important. And honestly, I think it's not unreasonable for Gen Z, the next generations, to be pretty angry with these generations before. I mean, face it, to some degree, we mortgaged your future, by using so much of the world's, capital, natural capital, in a way that's unsustainable. So the cool thing is to transform the global economy to transition our energy systems, our food systems, our healthcare systems. I mean, these are huge opportunities. And so given the fact that you guys have unbelievable amounts of information, knowledge, and how to use it, big data becoming hopefully less noisy and more valuable, all these things are coming for you in a good way. And so, the bets that kind of the world's millennials, and baby boomers have to make, that bet is on you guys, because we have the technology, we have the financial capital, and you are the human capital, to get things moving. So it would be easy to kind of feel pretty dismal about the climate and about the healthcare challenges and about everything else, but I choose not to be. I choose to bet on you guys.
Wow. Thank you, Erika. That's such an encouraging and inspiring statement. And I'm sure they will be angry with the things that you mentioned from the previous generation. That's a very, very interesting positioning. And I see it as encouraging, a motivation line for us to keep in mind. And Nawal, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, I wanted to add first thing, before my thanks to Erika and to you, Isabella. But I think, for my generation, see my white hair, we were a generation that we are trained, we're used to be consumers. I hope, we will have a generations of people and humans. Because consumer defines a part of us and sort of programs us mentally to consume. And it is in economics, it is in sciences, it's everywhere. And I think we are programmatically, to defend my generation, we're programmed to consume. We're called consumers, we're measured on consumers. Consumer index comes in the news every day. So hopefully we return the human factor for Gen Zers and future generations. So Erika and Isabella, I want to thank you. I would love to invite you back anytime. And I know I cannot thank you more because I know how busy you are. I know how important every minute it's for you and for what you organize. So I want to thank you.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure.
Yes, Erika, thank you so much. And can't wait to read your report and see your work. And let's get this movement going. I'm so excited to see people from everywhere supporting this sustainable future. And thank you all to our audience as well for taking the time. Make sure you tune in every week for a new episode of AKFI's Actionable ESG Talks series, and where you can gain new perspective on how to mitigate risk and create value by integrating ESG and digital transformation. Until next week, bye for now. Bye, Manuel. Bye, Erika.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay.